Hey musicians, Randy here talking to you from the DIY Advisor, and this is our studio in Chicago, Illinois. And this week we're here to talk to you about the top legal mistakes musicians make and basically how not to make them. That's the whole idea. So let's go through it. There's 4 of them. Number 1, not having a band agreement. This is something that you don't usually think about when you get together with people in order to make music. I mean, you're gonna throw together some songs, put it out there. Next thing you know, it's got some success. There's actually some money behind it. Someone wants to leave the band, and all of a sudden, it's a question on who owns what, who owns the name, who owns the music, who owns anything. Even if you're doing split sheets, there's a lot of other factors to deal with. Now, we're not advocating that you go find a lawyer every time you want to start a new music project with someone, but that said, if you actually want to get serious about your music, it makes sense to have an agreement that just spells out who owns what and what happens if you decide to break up. We have an entire article about this in the DIY Advisor, and we're going to have a link below. Number 2, mixing personal and business expenses is a problem. It's not really a problem from the point of view of, well, maybe your money is all munged together and so what. It's a problem when you try and do accounting at the end of the year and you have to pay your taxes. If some of the money is personal and some of the money is business expenses, you won't do a good job of distinguishing it. And then when it comes time for the end of the year, well, it becomes a problem, and that leads to number 3. If you don't track it right, you won't take the right deductions for your business expenses, and then you're missing out on tax savings, which is a really big problem. I mean, let's face it, it's expensive enough to try and run a music business. You have a lot of expenses all over the place that you need to account for. Paying more in taxes than you need to is a really big problem, and it's something that you should avoid. And one of the ways to do that is if you don't mix your personal and business expenses, as we talked about earlier, it's a lot easier to do it. You can get the full tax savings. Plus, there's one other factor that you should be aware of, and that's that the IRS is very sensitive to the fact that some people take their hobbies and they call it a business, and then they try and write off things like musical instruments. Well, you can only really have losses in a business for so many years before they start questioning, hey, is this a real business? And really, maybe it isn't. Well, the only way you can show that is to show a profit. Well, how do you show a profit? If you take the right deductions and you don't mix the personal and business expenses, you'll actually be able to show that you're making money. And this is one key way you can do this. And number 4, not protecting your intellectual property is a big issue. And one of the ways you can do it is to follow our articles that talk about, let's say, the song release checklist. And one of our favorite talks that we like to give called the 7 registrations every musician should do before releasing your music into the world. 2 of them have to deal with registering it with the Copyright Office. It's not that expensive. It's not that hard to do. You do, by the way, get a copyright even if you don't register it, but registering it gives you proof that you owned it first, and it makes it a lot easier in case somebody infringes. You also get some statutory benefits if you can do it before the music is out for more than a few months, more than 3 months. So why not just follow our checklist, do it before you release it, do it ahead of time, and you're all set. That's the right way to go about it. And that's the first 4. We're going to have a part 2 for this, which have even more things that you should do to protect yourself as you go out there so you won't have to make these legal mistakes. So thanks for listening. Hit subscribe. If you hit thumbs up, you can find this again very easily because it'll be in your liked videos. And don't forget to use the comments at the bottom to talk about basically what you're doing to protect yourself, whether you're avoiding these problems, and any questions you have. We keep an eye on it. Thanks a lot, and talk to you next week.